Hari. Welcome. Welcome to the celebration of Radhashtami here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. We'll be singing the night away, glorifying Srimati Radharani, and remembering her position and pastimes. This is nice. We'll start with some very appropriate songs from the great acharyas. The first one is called Gurudev Kripa Bindudiya. As the topic of Krishna and his eternal associates is not comprehensible without the channel of the mercy of the pure devotees coming down. So in order to discern the position of Srimati Radharani and her pastimes, we'll start with praying to the Guru. Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev Kripa Bindudiya Koroe Dase Trinapekayati Hina. Gurudev Kripa Bindudiya Koroe Dase Trinapekayati Hina. Sakala Sahane Bolodiya Koro Nijamane Spriyahina. Sakale Saman Korete Shakati Dehodata Jata Jata. Tavito Gaibo Harinama Sukhe Apararaha Behata. Kabehe no kripa lavae jano kritartha venata. Shakti buddhi amiyati din kurumore atma sata. One more time. Shakti buddhi amiyati din kurumore. Yogyatya bichare kich nahi pai tumhara karuna saro. Karuna na hoile kandiya kandi Mia Prananara Kiboaro. Pipa Bindudira Koroe Dase Chuna Pekayati Gurudev Gurudev Pipa Bindudira Koroe Dase Chuna Pekayati Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Welcome to the Radhashtami celebration here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. The first song was by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and expressing how dependent we are on receiving mercy through the disciplic succession, through the Guru who has received knowledge and special mercy from his or her guru and then passed it down. And the next song is about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, who appeared 500 years ago and gave the teachings of Lord Krishna in a very special way, revealing the secrets of the spiritual world and also showing by example how to be a devotee and to benedict the people of the world. They gave their teachings and traveled widely. And of course, those in the disciplic line who have followed the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu down through many generations are now in many places around the world teaching the process of Krishna consciousness as given by Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. This is a beautiful song written by Narottam Das Thakur about special mercy of Shri Nitai and Gaur. Would you like to sing this one? Yeah. Okay. Parama Karuna Bahundvi Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Bahundvi Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Bahundvi Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Sabhavata Sarashiramani Kevalaya Nandakanda Sabhavata Sarachiramani Kevalaya Nandakanda Bhagavato Bhai Chaitanya Nita Surida Vishwasakori Vishaya Chadiya Shera Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Chadiya Shera Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Dekore Bhai Tribhuvane Nai Emona Doya Lakata Pachupaki Jure Pashana Vidare Shune Jagunakata Pachupaki Jure Pashana Vidare Shune Jagunagata Samsare Majia Rohile Podia Shepade Nahilo Asha Apana Karama Banjaye Shamana Kaye Lochana Tasa Apana Karama Banjaye Shamana Kaye Lochana Tasa Parama Karun Pahundvi Jana Nitai Gaurachandra Parama Karuna Pahundvi Jana Nitai Gaurachandra Nitai Gaurachandra Nitai Gaurachandra Lord Nitai and Lord Gaurachandra are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations. The specific significance of these incarnations is they introduced a process of chanting and dancing that is simply joyful. My dear brothers, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith if one wants to be Krishna conscious. By this process, one has to give up his engagement in sense gratification. Become absorbed in worshipping Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda and simply chant Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, without any material motive. My dear brothers, just try to examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Their merciful qualities are so great that upon hearing them, even birds and beasts cry and stones melt. But I, Lochan Dasa, regret that I am entrapped by sense gratification. I have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and therefore Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, has punished me for not allowing me to be attracted by this movement. Paramakaruna Pahundvi Jana Nitaye Gaurachandra Nitaye Gaurachandra Nitaye Gaurachandra Jaya Gaura Nitaye Gaura Nitaye Gaura Nitaye Jaya Gaura Nitaye Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai go, Hari go, Hari go, Hari go, Nitai go, Hari go. And now we're going to sing a song about Shri Radha and Krishna. Is that okay with everyone? You want to vote? It's democratic. You want a song about Radha and Krishna? Let me count. I need a recall. A recall. Okay. Radha Krishna bol bol, bolo re shobai. Shishi. Radha Krishna bol bol, bolo re shobai. Radha Krishna bol bol, bolo re shobai. Shikadiya, Shobnariya, Prechene, Onitai. Hari bol, bolo re, shikadiya. Radha Krishna bol bol, bolo re shobai. Shri Radha Krishna bol bol, bolo re shobai. Niche maya bhoshe, jacho deshe, kacho habu, dubu bai. Hari bol, Shri Shri Radha Krishna bolbo, bolo re shobai. Dev Krishna Das, Vishwas, Kole Tor, Dukonai. Hari bol, bolo re Krishna Das. Radha Krishna bolbo, bolo re shobai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna bolbo, bolo re shobai. Krishna bolbe jabe, pulakka habe, jorbi anki boli thai. Krishna bolbe jabe. Okay, get ready now. Krishna bolbe jabe, pulakka habe, jorbi anki boli thai. Hari bolo Krishna bolbe jabe. Radha Krishna bolbo, bolo re shobai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna bolbo, bolo re shobai. Radha Krishna bolo, shange chalo, e matra pika chai. Hari bol, bolo Radha Krishna bolo. Radha Krishna bolbo, bolo re shobai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna bolbo, bolo re shobai. Jai Sakal Vipad, Bhakti Dino, Bolin Jatum, Om Nam Jai Jai. Jai Sakal Vipad, Bhakti Dino, Bolin Jatum, Om Nam Jai. Hari bol, bolo re jai, sakla vipad. Radha Krishna bolbo, bolo re shobai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna bolbo, bolo re shobai. Jai Sakala Vipad Bhakti Dino, Bolin Jatum, Om Nam Jai. Radha Krishna bolo, sange cholo, e matra pika chai. Krishna bolve jabe pula kahabe jorve anki boli thai. Gotta be fast. Jai Krishna Das, Jai Vishwas Kole Konai. Niche Maya Bolse Kacho Beshe Kacho Habu Dubu Bai. Habu Dubu. Shikadia Shomnadia Pese Niche Gonitai. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo Nitai God Haribo. Nitai Goda Haribo, 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 Nitai God Haribo. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Haribo. The day today is Radhashtami. This is the celebration of the appearance of Srimati Radharani, who is the eternal Shakti of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through whom all those who practice Bhakti Yoga and those who don't, knowingly or unknowingly, are connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, as with Krishna, who expands himself into many different forms. Ramadi Murti Shukalani Yamina Tishtan Nanavatara Makodod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Parama Pumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna has unlimited avatars or expansions that come from him in myriad forms. So similarly, his consort, Shakti, Radharani, also expands herself. First into the queens of Dwarka, and then into the Lakshmis in Vaikuntha, and then into Durga in the material world. So that's what I mean by everyone's serving Srimati Radharani directly, indirectly, knowingly, or unknowingly. In the material world, our movements are troubled because of being improperly positioned. But in the practice of Bhakti Yoga, we align ourselves with the facilitator of all service to Krishna, Srimati Radharani, and by doing so, we feel complete and whole, and our service is passed up to Krishna. And when we're able to serve Krishna, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. If you offer whatever happiness, whatever kinds of service you're doing to me, then naturally you'll feel aligned. And in this song, we heard Bhaktivinoda Thakur say, Jiv Krishna Das E Bishwas, Korle to Aratu Konai. If you just align in this way and say, I am a servant of Krishna, you want to try it? First, let me tell you the benefit. He said, then you'll be free from all misery. This is the way to rise above the torture of the material world. The torturous mind and the changing circumstances are not very much to our liking. Or maybe I'm wrong. Do you like it? Not very much. So he says, Jiv Krishna Das E Bishwas Korle to Artu Konai. If you just make this declarative statement and mean it from your heart, then you can become free from all misery. I am a servant of Krishna. You want to try it? Okay, go ahead. Now you have full knowledge. You can say it. I am a servant of Krishna. Do you feel better? Yes. Okay. No more misery for you. Just keep saying it. And the best way to say it is in the next song we're going to sing, which is the most recommended prayer for worshiping Radharani and Krishna. And it's in the form of a mantra. that can be passed on in the form of song, and people can dance to it. In fact, they do everywhere. There are musicals made about it. People write volumes about this very simple song, but it has so much in it. How much? Everything. The whole spiritual world and the process for worshiping God is here and with this song. Shall we try it? Okay, so let's do it. We'll start with a couple of prayers, and then we'll chant this secret mantra, which today, for the first time, we're revealing here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. No one's heard it before. Okay? Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Welcome, everybody, to the ongoing eternal celebration here. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mahatmanastu man partha daivim prakritim ashrita. That those who are great souls, that is, they're very compassionate, they're giving, and non-envious types of personalities. take shelter of the divine energy. So in the Bhagavad Gita, this is a general term, but it's given more meaning in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in which we hear about how every living entity is actually a part of Krishna. Of course, this is there in the Bhagavad Gita also. Krishna says, Mamai vamsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, manakshashtan indriyani, prakriti stani karshati. That every living being, how many living beings are in here today? Raise your hand if you're a living being. That's a really good part of self-realization, to know that. Because sometimes people forget they're living beings and they think that they're matter. This is a psychological default position here in the material world, that by association with matter, one can then start to identify with it. Should I give you an example? Okay. Have you ever been driving in your car or not and have it hit or scratched or the window smashed in? How did you feel? Great? Happy? No. I'm not getting as much as emotion as I thought I'd get out of this. Sad? It's hard to tell because with masks on during the pandemic, everything's muted. All the emotions, I can't see your faces, and I don't know if you're crying or what. People cry and feel bad. And how many cars are being hit right now on the 101 freeway? Approximately how many? Guess. 10. Do you feel bad? No. Why not? It's not your car. But actually, if you look at it from a really high position, confirmed. None of them are our cars. They're all made of the same material elements. Glass and metal and some other stuff. But because I say it's my car, I lament when it's hit. It's trouble for me. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Dhyayato vishayan pumsam sangas te shupachayate. That when we look at the world as living beings, and you all admitted you are, and then we look at matter and we think this is my matter, whatever it may be, then I develop a sangha with it. It becomes part of me, and it becomes a problem for me, actually. That's why there are people known as jnanis who figure this out, that actually I'm not part of this material world. In fact, there's a statement that may astound you in the ancient Vedic literatures. We'd like to welcome everyone who's joined us on the internet. Please greet them and all our friends on the internet. Haribol. Thank you very much for tuning in. I think I forgot where I was. Anyone? Where? Yes, I was going to tell you a statement that will astound you. And you'll never be the same when you hear this. In fact, everywhere you go, you'll feel happy. You'll have a spring in your step. And if somebody yells at you, did anybody ever yell at you? Did you feel bummed out? You won't feel bummed out anymore when you hear this. After you'll be inoculated. Maybe I shouldn't bring that up. Asango hyayam purushaha. Living being, and you're all living beings, we already figured that out. You're not part of this material world. In fact, you have nothing to do with it. It's not yours, nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. Feel better? Yes. How much? On a scale of 1 to 10. 10, is that a 10? 108. Bravo. Sango hyayam purusha means you don't have any Sangha here. There's no connection. You can just keep moving on. Of course, if you have that perspective, you can move about the world in a more enlightened way and not say, this is all mine. You can think instead, all this is paraphernalia to be used in service. And that's the beginning philosophy of Bhakti Yoga as given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, where he says, Yat koroshi adashnashi as johosi dadasi yat, yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurishva manarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give away, do it as an offering unto, and whatever austerity you perform, do it as an offering to me. And what happens is we start to move about the world without the normal anxiety that we might have. Now, this is something, this meanings, this perspective and this kind of connecting everything to the Supreme through service and offering it leads somewhere. It leads to an expansion of the heart. And remember I started talking about the Mahatma? Maha means big, and Atma means a soul, a living being, the conscious force within the body that has emotions. And once one starts to give purposefully to the Supreme, then one will notice that I'm a bigger person. I feel more expansive in heart. I feel empowered and happy because I'm not identifying with matter and letting it weigh me down and thinking that these are all my things and I have a connection with them and therefore they're a big weight on my head. So, as one continues this, one may look to emulate those who perform more and more refined kinds of service. Because we may become attached to the feeling we get when we give in service to the Supreme. And therefore Krishna recommends in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that you can begin just by starting to volunteer your time somewhere, to be charitably disposed to others, to think about how to do good for others. Because then you'll begin the process of expansion in your heart. Now, in the science of Bhakti Yoga, we find out that there's a whole world in which people are dedicated to this way of life. And it's called the spiritual world. I mean, that's one name for it. This world is for people who want to try to get stuff for themselves. And they're trying really hard, especially here in Silicon Valley, right? Everyone would like to have their stuff and put a fence around it and say, don't come in, because it's all my stuff. And if you come in, then, we have the right to shoot you. Or my dog might bite you. However, there's another world where everyone sees that everything is paraphernalia to be used in service to the Supreme, and therefore they have no anxiety. And there's a lot of them. They all live together. That's the spiritual world. So, which place would you rather live? The material world where everyone puts a fence around their stuff and dogs bite you if you try to walk in their yard? Or would you rather live in a world where everyone thinks about others and how to give more and how to do more service to the Supreme? Take your choice. It's a democratic system here, so you can vote. And there's a recall after that, too, in case you need it. Okay, so who wants to stay in the material world? I got to do more campaigning. Okay, who wants to go to the spiritual world? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Raise your hand if you want to go. Okay, I think that's almost unanimous. There's one in the back's not going. 2. Okay, 1. So, the spiritual world is actually personal. Some people think besides the Earth planet, there's no people or life anywhere. Everything evolved from a pile of sand. Sand was sitting there, and some rain hit it, and then there was some electronic impulse from a lightning bolt, wherever that came from. And next thing you know, there was frogs and then people. And it all happened, within a few million years. And I can't tell you the steps, but that's... And then there's nothing else besides that anywhere in the universe. And then there's no spiritual world either, because everything's random. However, the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, explain actually that there is a spiritual world beyond this world, and this world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, there's a main attraction. And the main attraction is love. But love doesn't happen in the air. Can you love the air? Well, you kind of do a little bit. I mean, I'm kind of attached. I think I'll appreciate it a lot more someday. But it's hard to love the sky, although you can write a poem about it. But usually when you write a poem about the sky, well, look, take kids. If you take kids in kindergarten and you ask them to draw a picture of the moon, they're likely to put a face on it, right? And a house even. They'll put a house and they'll put a little face on the house. It's like, yeah, Mr. House. Well, that's what the spiritual world's like. Everything's personal. And in the spiritual world, there's a loving exchanges between all the devotees, and there's the Supreme Person who's so attractive that everybody wants to live with him on the same planet, or to have an opportunity to see him. Like famous people in this world, people just want to get close and they want to see. And in the spiritual world, the most famous person lives, and also he has other qualities too, like the most beautiful. What others? Do you know anybody like this in this world? Has these? Nobody? You know any famous people? And they're wealthy and beautiful and strong and renounced and knowledgeable. Okay, well, Krishna has all these qualities. He lives in the spiritual world. And so with very famous, wealthy people, oftentimes they're what's called, what do they call those guys who follow them around with cameras? Paparazzi? Yeah, because they want to know, what are they doing? Right? Like he just walked out of the house, he bought a croissant and some orange juice and walked back in. It's like, wow, that's big news. And I got a picture of him eating the croissant. He eats croissants. So in the spiritual world, there's the most famous person, God, Krishna. He has all the attractive qualities, and people would like to see him and find out more about him. Well, there's a lot written about him and what he looks like. There are even pictures. And in the spiritual world, people are really satisfied because unlike the famous people in this world who end up with some kind of scandal, sometimes it's the very end of their life when the day before the statute of limitations runs out and somebody files a complaint, says, actually, this person is a bad person. In the spiritual world, there's unlimited happiness because there's a Supreme Person who has all qualities that we're really looking for, that attract us, and they're always increasing. So, if one is a spiritual paparazzi, what's the singular for paparazzi? Anybody know? Better research it. Then one would want to know also, who does this person spend time with? And so, in the topmost planet of the spiritual world, called Goloka Vrindavan. I know I'm skipping a lot of evidence. I'm just assuming a lot. But in the topmost planet of the spiritual world, it's called Goloka Vrindavan. The Supreme Person resides. And we have information about his what he does and who he's attracted to. He's attracted to, and what gives him pleasure is Srimati Radharani. So the question comes up amongst very highly elevated and self-realized souls in discussing the spiritual world, that what must be the qualities of that person? If the supreme person, who has all qualities unlimitedly and they're always expanding, has an attraction to someone particular, what must that person be like? And so the Srimad Bhagavatam hints at that person who is the most attractive, who attracts even the mind of the Supreme Person, who's the origin of everyone, who also happens to be his eternal expansion, his Shakti, is Srimati Radharani. So there's a secret to practicing bhakti yoga, because as it turns out, Srimati Radharani, Krishna's expansion, is kind-hearted and extremely merciful to others. And her interest is in seeing that other people get the benefit of performing devotional service to Krishna. And therefore, when we chant our mantra, we discuss this secret mantra that we were given, and now we're starting to leak it out in different places around the Silicon Valley, tell people about it. The first word of the mantra is Hare, and that's the vocative form of Hara, which means the Supreme Mother figure, who's Srimati Radharani. And so when we chant Hare Krishna, we're addressing the Supreme Beginning with his most concentrated love interest in the spiritual world, who's all compassionate, and by whom we can become empowered in devotional service. So we say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And this is a complete way of offering a prayer to Srimati Radharani and Krishna together, asking for service. Oh my Lord, oh energy of the Lord, Radharani, please engage me in your service. So on Radhashtami, we remember the importance of chanting Hare Krishna, and also the mood of selfless service that Srimati Radharani exhibits in the spiritual world. If we emulate that, then we'll also be perfectly situated in devotional service and be able to advance towards the ultimate goal of life, which is to become a Mahatma, a great-hearted person, full of compassion and love for all living entities, just like Srimati Radharani. And now I'd like to mention that we have with us today one of the devotees who started the Hare Krishna movement in a very profound way. Her name is Malati Devi Dasi, and she is one of Prabhupada's first disciples in the Hare Krishna movement, who actually started a temple here in San Francisco, and then went to London and met the Beatles and started the Hare Krishna movement there. And I was wondering if you could say a few words about the Radhashtami and how Srila Prabhupada celebrated it, and any realizations you'd like to pass on to the devotees here. And if you would, please come up here. If you'd like her to come up here, then you just give a round of applause. Okay. Thank you.
You mentioned realization. That's the part that's missing from my life. But I can comfortably sit here and mention a few things.
Please.
That was, because you mentioned England and you mentioned, anyway, the first large Radha Krishna deities were installed in England by Srila Prabhupada. Large marble Radha Krishna named Radha Landaneshwara. On August 29th, 1969, was the first Radhashtami in London, and of course it was around the world, but in London was the only place we had large Radha Krishna deities. And you were wondering how that Radhashtami was celebrated. So even though I was there, I wasn't there, and I'll explain. Because, you know, you do a lot of things like cooking on Radhashtami. So I was in the kitchen, and I had a small child, and she was about 1 year, 3.5 months. And she came to England with us. She was, 6 weeks old when we took off. The temple in London at that time on Bury Place was quite small, and there was stairs from each floor to the next. And the kitchen was in the basement. And this little girl, Saraswati, somehow ran down those stairs and ran into the kitchen, where a big pot of Radha Red. How many people here know Radha Red? Yeah, the old people know. The young people better should learn this. It was a chutney. It was made out of plums, and there was never ever a Radhashtami feast without Radha Red. But this was the first one. And this little girl, Saraswati, ran down the stairs, ran into the kitchen where a big pot of Radha Red had been placed on the floor, coming off the stove, and she fell into this big pot. I very quickly pulled her out, but it was flaming hot. And so I had to take her to the hospital. And therefore I missed everything that was going on in the temple. The person who had cooked the Radha Red chutney, when she witnessed this, said, "Now we can't offer it." That was it. But when I came back from the hospital and everything was all over, I was told, "Prabhupada wants to see you." And the first thing he asked, and he was the only person who asked, was, "How is Saraswati? Is she all right?" So for me, Radhashtami is about caring. Prabhupada was always caring. And Radharani was also caring for her friends, wanting them also to have a taste of Krishna's wonderful love. So in those early days means 67, 68. The first temples, there was a sign. The first one was at the Matchless Gifts, that little storefront that was 26 2nd Avenue, and it became our first temple. And there was a sign, Radha Krishna Temple. So when we began the chapter in San Francisco, which is where I entered into the picture, we also wrote that sign, Radha Krishna Temple. But we had no idea who was Radha. So Prabhupada came, and that was one of the first questions after the initiation, the first initiation, which is where I also took initiation myself, Chan Sundar Haridas and Harsharani. One of the questions, who is Radharani? And because we were, you couldn't even call us neophytes, pre-neophyte, maybe might have even been generous. And Prabhupada was looking at these young people. And then he said, Radharani is Krishna's girlfriend. Something we could understand. But he mentioned she was not an ordinary girl. And he explained to us that if we wanted to become connected to Krishna, the best way was through Radharani. And if she was pleased by our service, Prabhupada indicated with his hand, she would tug on Krishna's shirt sleeve and say, this person, take this person. So this was our introduction to Radharani. But when Radha London Ishwara were installed, he was explaining to us, as he had explained in a letter to Satsvarup, how we worship Radha and Krishna. It's also in a letter to Dayananda Prabhu. There's several references to this, that we worship Radha and Krishna in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan, which means in a mood of formality, Aishwarya, some awe and reverence. And just like we see today, this very distinguished form of Srimati Radharani with her benedicting hand. So we should seek that benediction by not becoming overly familiar with her and being very reverential when we approach her, as Srila Prabhupada taught us. Another instruction he gave us, which I see is kind of nowadays not always being followed, because probably they don't know. I see pictures which are, there's a woman, so I understand they're intending Radharani, but Krishna's not in the picture. So that happened, and Prabhupada nipped it right away, that we should never depict her without Krishna, because people will see, or they may see, an ordinary woman. And when a person sees an ordinary woman and they're ordinary people, then their mentality is to enjoy, because she's so beautiful. But if they see her with Krishna, they'll understand, oh, she belongs to that person. So this was an instruction that when we depict Radharani, it should always be with Krishna. Now, if there is some pastime where she's with her sakis, her girlfriends, that's another thing. But just to have a picture of Radharani alone, without Krishna, was not advised by His Divine Grace. I don't have realizations to speak. And today I heard a wonderful, I don't like to say lecture, but a wonderful lecture, because that's the word we have, by His Holiness Radhashtami. And he was giving very deep understandings about Srimati Radharani coming from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, as yesterday you were. And I was really appreciating it yesterday that you were reminding, this is very deep, and you might not want to hear it, and if you don't think so, then cover your ears, just so that we wouldn't hear it in a cheap way and become infatuated by the language, that we should always remember that Srimati Radharani is the original. Just like Krishna, everything is coming from him. So all the other goddesses of fortune, all the other Lakshmis, They're emanations from Srimati Radharani, so that we can just consider how exalted Srimati Radharani is, and always strive to please her, so that she may tug on Krishna's shirt sleeve on our behalf. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for gracing our community by coming here. We so deeply appreciate all the service that you've done for all of us since the very beginning. We probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you and your oh no, don't give her the mic. The pioneering spirit. And thank you very, very much for coming to ISV on a regular basis. We're so happy to see you here and hear from you. Hare Krishna.
When you talk about service, I haven't done any service. I've just happened to be among really amazing devotees who do service, and I'm begging that someday I may get that mood of service before I leave, and I don't have a lot of time left. So I'm begging the blessings of all these beautiful devotees here who you are nurturing and training, that I may somehow follow in their footsteps of service. And in particularly, your good wife, Nikula Devi Dasi, who's for me the epitome of service.
Hare Krishna. We heard a description of the mood of Srimati Radharani and how Prabhupada describes that one should approach Srimati Radharani and try to please her. He says in the purport we read this morning that that's why in Vrindavan everyone prays to Srimati Radharani. And her mood is that this person is better than me. Krishna, please accept. And you can see that you've imbibed the mood of Srimati Radharani. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. In just a few minutes, we're going to have an abhishek. The teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are to acquaint us with the mood of the spiritual world in which Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has special loving relationships with his devotees that are devoid of the obstacle of awe and reverence. That is, when there's a sense that God is present, everyone becomes a little bit nervous. Well, I could say going to the cathedral in Montreal, I think it's called Notre Dame. It's a gigantic cathedral. And Prabhupada went there, so I decided while I was in Montreal that I would stop in also. Were you there, Malati?
2016, when they had the 50th celebration. So at that time, I had the good fortune to go to that cathedral. But when we went through Montreal on our way to London, it was two things happening: Janmashtami and Srila Prabhupada's appearance day. So that was our focus.
Oh, nice. We went inside and we read the transcript of what Prabhupada said when he was in there. And when I walked into the cathedral, it put the fear of God in me. Have you ever heard that phrase? And I felt that. It's such a imposing building. And when you walk in, it's so opulent and huge that I immediately had a feeling of the presence of God in his all-pervasive feature. And also felt, I'm really a sinner. I shouldn't be in here. And there's a way in which, in some environments in which people worship God, there's a very acute sense of His being the supreme. And in those cases, there is a diminishment of the sweetness that we find in Vrindavan, which is Krishna's hometown, where the residents are not aware of His grandeur. In fact, they don't know that He's the supreme. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is described in our Vedic scriptures as Radha and Krishna combined, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahayanya, comes to teach about that very special realm in the spiritual world where the devotees relate to Krishna in various kinds of relationships like servitude and friendship and the parental relationship, and also the relationship of being a lover. All the kinds of relationships we see in this world are reflections of what's in the spiritual world. And as described in our scriptures, the topmost of all those relationships is called Madhurya. It means the sweetest relationship. So, as described in this book called the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the author, Kaviraj Goswami, describes how Krishna is more pleased when he's chastised by his lovers, who, in a mood of scolding him, say things that may sound a little harsh, as lovers say things in a quarrel. And he says these are more pleasing to him, or they attract his mind away from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. And there are ways in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talked about his relationship with his friends in Goloka Vrindavan, so that the friends are playing with Krishna as an equal, sometimes wrestling and claiming defeat. You're not so strong, I can beat you. And this is just ordinary if it's between ordinary people. But if it's between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His devotees, and the strength and the grandeur of the Supreme is hidden, there's a sweetness to it, and that's the sweetness of Vrindavan that's described by Kaviraj Goswami. And also about Srimati Radharani, who, as Prabhupada described as Krishna's girlfriend. There is this sense there in Goloka Vrindavan of this ongoing loving relationship with Srimati Radharani that is capturing the minds of everyone in Vrindavan. So when you go to Vrindavan on this earth, it's the embassy, just as we have embassies around the world. And once when I was in Calcutta, I had to take care of some issue with my passport or visa. I went to the embassy, and when I walked in, I saw that behind the glass, everything was from America. There was Arrowhead water. All the snacks were from America. Nothing Indian at all. Right behind the thick glass, there were U.S. Marines, and everything was American. They flew everything in, and it was all set up just the way it would be in America. Behind the glass on the other side was Calcutta, which I got quite accustomed to. I like Calcutta and lived there for some time. And when I heard the example about the special places on this earth that are embassies from the spiritual world, and then I went to Vrindavan, I realized what Prabhupada meant by that. And that is, when you go into Vrindavan, you can feel for yourself the sweetness of the place. And who would imagine that the topmost area of the spiritual world, as described in the Brahma Samhita, Goloka namni nijadamni chaleta tasya devi mahesha haridama suteshu teshu te prabhava nichaya vihitaschayena govindamadi purusham damaham bhajami. He describes, does Brahma, a hierarchy in this world that lowest of all is Devi Dham. Devi Dham is the abode of Durga. Does everybody know what Durga looks like? She's a little fearsome, right? She rides on a lion, and she holds a... And so there's 3 points on the trident. What do they represent? Threefold miseries. So if one misery doesn't get you, and then another one will. That's where we live. So above that is Maheshnam, the abode of Mahesh. It's kind of partway between the material and the spiritual worlds. Above that is Haridam. Haridam means Vaikuntha. That's where Narayan and Lakshmi and Narayan reside there in their opulence. Narayan has how many hands? 4 hands, right? And then above that is Goloka. Krishna's Nijadam. Nija means personal. It's his personal place. So God's personal place is there in the topmost planet called Goloka Vrindavan. And there Krishna is at home. So there's a difference between the way that we act when we're at work. Of course, not that much anymore, right? I mean, even before the pandemic, everyone just shows up in sneakers. But in the old days, kids, people used to wear ties, and they would put on their best clothes and go to work. And then when they come home, they relax and they wear something more casual. And so, in the spiritual world, in the topmost planet, Krishna doesn't wear shoes. You'll notice Radha Madan Mohan, and that Krishna's barefoot. He's also playing a flute. And someone asked Prabhupada once what it meant that Krishna plays a flute. And Prabhupada said, it means that he's all play and no work. Because, do you see anybody in Silicon Valley walking around with bare feet and a flute? Or going to the office? You have to dress up for that stuff. So there, Krishna is with Srimati Radharani and all of his friends, and it appears to be just a little village. Although it's the most expansive place anywhere. If you take all of the material worlds put together, and they're tiny size compared to the spiritual sky. And if you take all the Vaikuntha planets put together, they don't equal the size of Goloka Vrindavan, which is always expanding. But in the mood there, it's a small village. And the reason that it's so expansive is because of the outpouring of love. The cows and the animals and all the people, everyone is submerged in this mood of loving service to Krishna. And it's described in the Brahma Samhita. Sriya kanta kanta parama purusha kalpataravo drama bhumish chintamani ganamayi toyam amritam kataganam natyam gamanam apivamshi priyasaki. That there is constant music in the spiritual world. In fact, Krishna has not just Srimati Radharani as a girlfriend, but he has billions. Actually, that's just a number of the inner circle, but there are unlimited gopis who are more beautiful than goddesses of fortune. And they're all there serving Krishna out of love. And they're all singing. In fact, how many of you know the science of raga. Studied a little bit. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. Right? And then there's different scales. And there are ragas. And each one of them has a different mood. Did you know that every one of the gopis, who's an associate of Krishna, a servant of Krishna in the spiritual world, has her own raga, original raga, and that's where all the ragas in this world come from. Do you know billions of them? There are billions of them. This is written in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the spiritual world. And what's being described is how everyone's singing. Have you ever been so happy you just wanted to sing? Recently? Yeah? Yeah. So in the spiritual world, people feel like that all the time. They're always singing about something. Sometimes they're singing because we like different flavors. Like Shakespeare, he wrote different plays. Some of them were more historical. Some of them are comedies, and others are tragedies. Because you don't want to just hear funny stuff all the time. Sometimes you want to hear something sad, right? Yeah? So, yeah. So there are songs that are melancholy in the spiritual world where the devotees remembering Krishna and feeling separation from it. Have you ever felt separation from someone? And then, like, you needed some song to, resonate with. You feel better. That's why people write songs. They become hits on the radio because, somebody will sing a song, "My dog ran away." "Girlfriend left me too." "Got no gas in the car." There are all these songs, people feel melancholy and they sing. This is a perverted reflection in the spiritual world. There are different melodies for connecting to Krishna, and many of them happen quite naturally. Like in the village of Vrindavan, the devotees, especially the gopis, they churn butter because it's the land of cows, Goloka, land of cows. And when they're churning, there are bangles. Anybody hear of bangles? Make a little noise. Let's hear it. Come on, all together. Little bangle noise. Sounds like that in Goloka. Could you hear that? And so when they're churning, you hear the ching 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 ching. So there's that, and then they'll start to sing to it. So you do some bangle noise, and then you sing something. Give her the mic. Sing a beautiful verse. Ajanulambita bhujo. Okay, bangles.
Ajanulambita bhujo kanakavadato sankirtanaikapitaro kamalayataksho vishvambaro dvijavaro yugadharmapalo vande priya jagat priyakaro karunavataro.
Haribo. And now we have our window to the spiritual world. Everyone can turn this way for the Abhishekam. And we're going to sing one of the songs from the spiritual world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Madhava Jayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Gokulataruni Mandala Mahite. Gokulataruni Mandala Mahite. Radhe 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 Mudarate Badana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Pipineshe. Mudarati Pardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Pipineshe. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Radhe 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 Gokulataruni Mandala Mahite. Gokulataruni Mandala Mahite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Vishnupanadani Navasachileke Lalita Saki Gunaramita Vishake. Vishnupanadani Navasachileke Lalita Saki Gunaramita Vishake. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Radhe 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 Sham Sham Radhe Radhe Sham Sham Radhe Radhe. Nam Karumaye Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite. Nam Karumaye Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite. Nam Karumai Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Gokulataruni Mandala Mahite. Gokulataruni Mandala Mahite. Jaya Madhava Jayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite. 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 Radhe 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 Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite. Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jaya Krishna, Jaya Krishna, Krishna, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Shri Krishna. Jaya Krishna, Jaya Krishna, Krishna, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Shri Krishna. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Krishna, Jaya Krishna, Krishna, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Shri Krishna. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jai Krishna, Jai Krishna, Krishna, Jai Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Hare Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hari Hari. Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Shri Harinam Mahamantra Ki, Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki. Gaur Premanande. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Hari Bo! Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai Govinda Jai Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Jai Jaya Gopala Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai Govinda Jai Jaya Gopala Jai Jaya Govinda Jai Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Gopula Taruni Mandala Mohite Gopula Taruni Mandala Mohite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaya Gopula Taruni Mandala Mohite Gopula Taruni Mandala Mohite Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vishwapad, Paramahamsa Parivrajika Chachasto Taristasi Shimad Bhai Charana Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajika Chachasto Taristasi Shimad Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Garadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gokopina Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radhashtami Maha Mahotsav Ki. Shri Radhashtami Maha Mahotsav Ki. Shri Radhashtami Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Go Premanandi Haribol. So we just got information that during the Artik time and at this particular time on Radhashtami, it's a special time, just like there's Kumbh Mela, and there's a time at which when you take your bath at the confluence, at that time there's a special benediction. So we've been waiting for this time, at about 10 minutes to 8, to stop. We have an opportunity that's carrying over from tomorrow. We are engaged right now in a worldwide effort to do something that's never been done before in the history of the world. And that's to distribute as one global team of devotees all over the world, 25,000 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. Haribol. Previously, the Srimad Bhagavatam was copied by hand, and it took months to copy the entire 12 cantos onto palm leaves. And some of those editions are still available on the planet. They're carefully guarded, like Ramananda Roy's copy of Srimad Bhagavatam is in Jagannath Puri. You can go visit it. But something happened recently in the history of the world, the Industrial Revolution. Along with it came the printing press. And originally the printing press was introduced in order to produce Bibles. It was mass-produced. And then it got more and more refined, and now people print all kinds of stuff. However, the most important literature in the world is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin prati shlokam abhadyavatyapi namanyanantasya yashon kitani yat shrinvanti gayanti grananti sahadava. Narada Muni says that this book is meant to re-spiritualize the entire human society. And it is directly from the spiritual world. It's not of this world. Tadvag visargo. It doesn't come from the world that's created. It comes from the world that's not created, beyond this world. And anyone who hears from this book, anyone who keeps the book in this home, His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj recently brought us a verse, that is us, the whole world, a verse which describes how if you keep the Srimad Bhagavatam in your home, then your house becomes a place of pilgrimage worshipped by the Devas. They have some kind of infrared system. They can look down on the map and see where the radiation is coming from. And they're doing puja. This is a fact. It's in the Shastra. So what we're working towards is a time and date called Bhadra Purnima. This is September 20th, which is when? It's pretty close. We're inching our way towards 25,000 all over the world. And we took on, we did something crazy here. Don't mind, I'm going to tell you. We pledged to do at least 2,000 of those 25,000. Yes, it's a big quota. There's only two places in the world that have a bigger goal, and that's Pune and Bangladesh. And so we're making our mark in the spiritual world, all of us together. And yesterday we started this process of offering everyone an opportunity to help sponsor villages in India. We're actually placing the books as we speak right now. There are devotees traveling all over India on bullock carts, and they're putting full sets of Srimad Bhagavatams in each one of the villages. We'll show you what it looks like. Lights. Show the first one, the line, and then.
It's my great pleasure to introduce you to Gram Vidyadham, a way to preserve the great wealth and legacy of India. What is the great wealth of India? It's knowledge, Sanatan Dharma, knowledge of our higher self, our eternal identity, and our relationship to the Supreme. When that's forgotten, all is lost. No technology, science, or material resources can make up for the loss of Sanatan Dharma. And the knowledge has to be distributed to people all over India and the world. This is India's great gift to the world but charity begins at home. Villages all over India, which are the mainstay of its culture, are being lost to other ideologies. Now, through Gram Vidyadham, we are placing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Shri Ishapanishad, and Ramayana within these villages, painstakingly going from one to the next and making sure that they go into the panchayat centers and that there are educational programs for everyone in the village. The result? People are coming alive. They're remembering their culture. They're so happy to read these books. They feel a purpose in life again. Please help us. We are doing this program by the thousands and now tens of thousands. Let's work together. If you donate $200, you will support one village with Vedic knowledge and a teacher who will help to disseminate it to the people in the village so they can support themselves. Thank you very much for helping. Hare Krishna.
We have a seamless system set up. It took us months during the pandemic to set up a channel between Silicon Valley, actually the United States, and India. It's called NIFTA, fashioned after NAFTA, only it's North American India Free Trade Agreement, where the sets of Bhagavatams are flowing freely now by tens of thousands out of Silicon Valley and everywhere. So if you've ever wanted to do something to fortify the Indian people and the culture which comes through the knowledge of Sanatana Dharma, this is a great opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We wanted to thank all the devotees who sponsored yesterday. We are just going to continue just for a little while because I know there's...
and a lot of people complained that they weren't able to be here, and so we're just trying to help out.
Yeah.
They have been specially waiting for today, Radharani's special mercy. So I know that we wanted to pledge.
I just wanted to share that we have been getting messages from different parts of North America asking us how they can participate in this Gram Vidyadhan. So yesterday devotees were here. If you want to sponsor for one village, it is just $200. And with that $200, we will be able to place an entire set of Srimad Bhagavatam in one of the panchayat villages like you saw in the video and in the schools. So everybody in the village can actually take advantage. You can sponsor for your own village or you can sponsor for any village.
I'd like to sponsor one village.
Last year, by Vaisesika Prabhu blessings, ISV did around 303 villages. So for Bhagavatam sets. So before they go to village, they call the panchayat or the village head, and then they take an appointment, and the devotees goes in a bullock cart there, and they do kirtan, and they do give prasadam for all the villagers. And they're very simple people, and in the villages they are keeping in the schools and also in the local libraries. You know, they don't have library, but there's a small place where they can go and read it. And also we are giving the temple priest, where the temple priest can teach Bhagavatam to all the villagers. It's a great opportunity today, Radhashtami. Please help us, to reach the goal.
You might see on the top of that graph that little red spot. Yeah, we're trying to get rid of that. That's the part we haven't done yet. We've been inching our way towards 2,000 sets sponsored. We've now sponsored 1,918. Haribol. But I must admit, I haven't been able to sleep. When I go to sleep, I see this graph in my dreams. And that little red thing, it's like it's like one of those LED lights shining in my brain, and it won't go away. And if you could help me sleep, I'd really appreciate it.
Akshay Madhav Prabhu. One. Haribol.
Haribo, West Bengal. Nityananda, Gauranga.
West Bengal ki jai.
Jai ho.
Prema Nitya Prabhu. One for?
Bihar.
One for Bihar.
Jai.
Sundar Prabhu, he would like a mic. That means that must be something very...
With your.
And while the mic is going to Sundar Prabhu, if you would like to, if you're online and if you're watching, and if you want to sponsor some Bhagavatam sets, villages, states, countries, please text 408-515-5292, or you can put it in your Facebook message or YouTube, and the devotees here will read out your message.
Our operators are standing by to take your calls. And I just got a message from Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu that he'd like to sponsor 5 villages in South India. 5.
Dravida Desh ki jai.
So we reached out to some friends and family. So we got a sponsorship for 50 Srimad Bhagavatam sets.
Wow.
50 Srimad.
Haribol.
Jai.
Shashi Shekhar Prabhu, our own Shashi Shekhar. Ujjain.
Ujjain ki jai.
Haribo, Shashi Shekhar.
Haribo.
Hema would like to sponsor one set. For Maharashtra.
Haribo.
Jai Maharashtra.
Sita Sundari would like to sponsor one set for South India.
Haribo. Dravida Desh ki jai.
Wow, I can't keep up. Vinay Prabhu, please go ahead.
One set for Telangana. Haribol.
Omkar Prabhu. One set for UP.
Haribol.
5 set for Ashok Narang Prabhu and family for Gujarat, Ahmedabad.
Haribol.
Kamcho.
Okay. There is an anonymous request that they would like to sponsor for 20 villages.
Haribo.
We have 2 set for West Bengal from Maida.
Haribo. Nitai Gauranga. Haribo.
Haribol.
Radhe Radhe.
Haribo. 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 Haribo.
We need for Karnataka. Please raise. Okay, Narsimhan Prabhu, 2 sets from Karnataka. Haribol.
Okay. Pranav Prabhu sent a message that he would like to sponsor 1 village to anywhere.
Haribo.
Mayank Prabhu.
Mayank Prabhu.
Haryana.
Haryana.
Haribol.
Suman Mataji would like to sponsor 11 sets for Haryana.
Sadhu. Sadhu.
1 more anonymous set for 1 village.
Haribol.
Okay. Radha Kripa Prabhu sent a message that he wants to sponsor 5 villages in Himachal Pradesh.
Haribo!
You know, when Prabhupada had translated and commentated upon the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he personally, all by himself, went to various places all over India to put that, and he went all the way up into North India, into places that were very hard to get to. Can you imagine him traveling alone with these sets of Bhagavatams and placing, and what he would feel now, how all of you are populating India with these beautiful, pristine Bhagavatam sets that he translated and gave commentary to. It's unimaginable how pleased, or inestimable how pleased he will be, is with this effort. Hare Krishna.
Anuradha Nunna Mataji, she wants to sponsor 1 set for East Godavari district.
Haribo!
Haribo! East where? Godavari.
East
Near the Godavari River.
Yes.
Godavari ki jai.
Where Ramananda Rai was there.
Wow. I'll sleep better tonight, that's true.
Sindhu Kanya and Vinay would like to sponsor 2 sets for Maharashtra, Pune.
Haribo!
Jai Pune! Haribo!
So Vijay Gopu Prabhu just messaged. He reached out to his friend, and one of his friend confirmed that he would like to sponsor 1 Srimad Bhagavatam set.
Haribo!
Okay. Pranav Prabhu earlier said for any state, and now he's saying that he wants to sponsor 1 more village in Assam.
Assam, hello! Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Prema Nitya Prabhu for Jharkhand. Haribo!
The Jharkhand forest.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Kautuk Karna Prabhu. 5 sets for Punjab.
Akshay Prabhu just got married to Krishna Jivani Mataji and wants to sponsor 1 set. Haribo!
Maybe you can stand up, but Mataji.
Haribo!
Haribo!
Congratulations. Hare Krishna. May Shri Radha Madan Mohan always bless your marriage and help you in every way possible. Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.
Okay. The anonymous who sponsored earlier wants 1 more anonymous set for Himachal Pradesh.
Haribo! Haribo!
Divyananda Prabhu sponsoring for His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj.
His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Okay, we have Subhadra Vrinda was actually born on Bhadra Purnima 22 years ago. So I will sponsor 1 village for Vrinda.
Haribo!
This is Subhadra from San Diego.
Jai Subhadra Mataji. There's one more anonymous donation. They would like to sponsor one village in Andhra Pradesh.
Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Just got a message that we got one more anonymous donation for $10,000.
Haribo. Sets. 50 sets.
Satyan Guha would like to sponsor one set for West Bengal.
Haribo! Nitai Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it's getting late, and the opportunity for Radhashtami is coming to a close. So we'll just give one more opportunity, countdown from 10. And then you can wait, if you're waiting, until next life. So if you're waiting, you can stop the countdown by just raising your hand. Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna 3, Krishna 2, Krishna 1, Krishna point 5, Krishna point 125, Krishna point 0125.
Haribo. One set curve, his guest, Vaisesika Prabhu. Hari Hari Bol.
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna 3, Krishna 2, Krishna 1, Krishna point 5, Krishna point... Tulsi, one set.
One set for
Haribo!
Tulsi.
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7. Three
There are
sets.
3 gram village, one for Vajendra Sud Prabhu who is in Dallas, also Thiru Prabhu who is in Dallas, and one set for His Holiness Radhashtami Maharaj.
Haribo!
Oh.
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna 3, Krishna 2, Krishna 1, Krishna point 5, Krishna point 125.
Oh, Shashishekar Prabhu. Anand Kishore Prabhu, one set for Kashmir.
Haribo! Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7.
Prabhu, I want to do for Tamil Nadu, Bhagavati Mataji. One set for Tamil Nadu. Haribo.
Haribo! Okay, really, this is it. We're coming to the end. Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna 3, Krishna
Yes,
2.
Prabhu. Nimesh, one set for
India.
India.
Gujarat.
Krishna 1, Krishna point 5.
Prabhu, on this auspicious Radhashtami day, wanted to sponsor 5 villages in India.
Haribo.
Jai Shri
Krishna
Madhe is
point.
Jai Shri Radha is living, and she would like to sponsor one set for ISV Gram.
Haribo! Go Premanande.
Prabhu would like to say that if you like to pay for your sets, you can go to ISKCONSiliconValley.com/Gram and there is a way where you can donate there, and you can donate for all the sets that you sponsor, and we will get your information in the PayPal. Again, the way to pay is ISKCONSiliconValley.com/Gram, and you can pay there. Thank you very much.
Sundar Madhav Prabhu didn't want to leave himself behind, so he's sponsoring 2 sets for Bihar and Jharkhand.
Haribo! We got one more. Radhakripa Prabhu, he wants to sponsor for 5 villages. He's seeking the blessings from all the devotees for Avantika as she's starting her college on Wednesday this week.
Wednesday.
Also, since we are acknowledging very quickly, I want to also take this opportunity to acknowledge today's many sponsors. Ankita and Hitesh, they're sponsoring today's feast, and they have donated $500 towards today's feast. So I'm sure you look forward to enjoying that. Same with the Divya Kumari Mataji is sponsoring today's feast on occasion of Achyuta Kumar Prabhu's birthday. He's our weekend warrior, not... His birthday is today, and Avanish's birthday was last week. So they are seeking the blessings of all the devotees of ISV. We'll pray for everyone towards the end. So let's just keep going here. Jai Shri Radhe Mataji is sponsoring today's feast and seeking blessings for Gauri. Neil and Nisha are sponsoring because it's their birthday.
Haribo!
And we have one anonymous donor for today's feast. And beautiful outfit for today is been sponsored by Rasika Shiromani, Govind Charan Prabhu, Vishaka, and Sundar Prabhu. So thank you very much for beautiful. And also we thank all the decorators and all the devotees who came forward and helped with the decoration and cooking, chopping, cleaning, everything. And we still have a lot more to go, and we are not done yet. Hare Krishna.
Haribo!
So with that,
Sharira Dvijaja Jotendriya Tahika Jive Pele Vishaya Shagare Dharmate Divayati Lobo Muisu Durmati Take jeta katita samsare Krishna bodha doyamoy Kori bare jihvajay Shaprasad anadiloba Shayanamrita pao Radha Krishna Gunaka Preme Dako Shri Chaitanya Nita Preme Dako Shri Chaitanya Nita Mabhari Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishave Sapa Punya Patam Rajan Vishvaso Navijayate Prasade Sarva Dukanam Hanirasu Pajayate Prasanna Chaitaso Yashu Buddhipaya Batistate Tvayopa Bhukta Sruganda Vasalankara Charchitaha Utishta Bojino Dasas Davamayam Jayemahi Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasadiki Parhapidam Natavara Karnayo Karnikaram Bibradvasa Kanata Kapisham Vaijayantim Chamalam Ran ran venor adhara sudaya purnayan gopa vrinder. Vrindaranyam sapada ramanam pravishad gita kirti. Tava katamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam pashapaham Shravana mangalam Shrimaratatam Bhuvigrananti Buridajana Krishnot Kirtana Gananartana Kala Patojani Prajita Shadbhakta Valihamsa Chakra Madhupa Shreni Viharaspadam Karnanandikaladvanir Vahatu Me Jiva Maru Prangane Shri Chaitanya Doyani Dedavalasa Lila Sudaswaduni Helandu Nitakeraya Vishadaya Proniladamodaya Shamyachastra Vivaraya Rasadaya Chitarpito Madaya Shashvad Bhakti Vinodaya Samadaya Madhurya Maryadaya Shri Chaitanya Doya Nidheta Vadaya Bhuyaramandodaya Yakomar Harasa Eva Hivaras Ta Eva Chaitra Shapas Tejani Lita Malati Surabaya Prodha Kadambanila Sachaiva Smita Pitatra Surata Vyapara Lila Vida Reva Rodasti Veda Sitarutale Cheta Samutkantate Yak Shri Vishnu Shavane Parikshita Bhava Vaisesika Kirtane Praladasmarane Tarangri Bhajane Lakshmi Pitu Pujane Akrurastra Vibandane Kapipati Dasyeta Sakyarjuna Sarvasvarmani Vedani Valirabhut Krishna Tireshambara Rajo Bhagavan Vrajeshatanayas Tadama Vrindavanam Ramyat Kachidupasana Vrajavidhu Arkena Vyakapita Srimad Bhagavatam Brahmana Mamalam Prema Pumarto Maha Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatrada Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tat Radharana Para Go Premanande Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo Radhe 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 Radhe. Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna. Radha red for everybody. Vanchakalpadamrusha Kripasindave Vacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Nanta Kodi Vaishnavini Ki Jai.